Hi guys, we're going to do this again. This is another fascism test that shows me what values exactly make me 36% fascist. Attention! This test makes use of research-based instruments for measuring agreement with fascist doctrines. The test explores the nature of fascism and may not be suitable for all audiences. Its presentation does not imply endorsement of fascism. I understand and wish to continue. Again, it's used as a slur. Where do you fall on the fascist elements test? For each of the following questions, indicate your level of agreement below. Divorce law should be altered to make divorce easier. Hard disagree. Some groups are simply inferior to others. Also disagree. It's not that people are inferior, it's that there's a lower set of expectations for other groups. War is the only state which shows you what a people is truly made of. Again, going to disagree with that. War is not the only metric that shows what people are made of. There are other innovations to consider. Many of our country's ills are the result of certain groups of people who plot against the nation's well-being behind our backs. Yeah, namely white progressives, but I do digress. Okay, institutions like schools, the police, and private workplaces could generally benefit from adopting more of the military's practices and doctrine, or practices and discipline. Again, that's a disagree. I know the military a little bit too well to know better. There's so much fake news out there that the media should be subjected to increased government oversight. No. Social media, in particular, should not be regulated by the government, but be held to the same standards as the First Amendment. That's what needs to happen. Guaranteed First Amendment rights on the internet. That's it. There are certain world leaders alive today or in history whose judgment I would trust over the collective wisdom of all their contenders. There are certain world leaders alive today or in history whose judgment I would trust over the collective wisdom of all their contenders. To be perfectly honest, no. I don't trust anyone in particular. I judge people by their actions today in real time. I'm not... No, that's... No. Sorry. Traditional gender roles are to a large degree determined by natural evolutionary processes and or a higher power. When God and nature agree, when God and Darwin are in agreement, it's a good indication this is probably a close to true statement. Civic rights, such as freedom of speech, should not apply to those who intentionally set out to provoke or disturb the public order. That's in general, for the most part, this is already the rule. This is nothing new. For example, people who want to loot and riot are generally already breaking the law, so hard agree, because that's what normal already is. Some views need to be shut down by any means necessary. Disagree? And yes, while I hate communism with a burning, fiery passion, the fact is they're the violent ones, but they're also the ones being the most violent, trying to shut other views down, which means if we actually had a level playing field, they would be the losers. Production and trade should be largely free should largely be free from government interference. Agree. Military training for our young is essential for the survival of this country. You know what? Yes, I would say so. And the reason is because it's not just military training that would be essential for the survival of this country, but our young should have a place in the workforce. They should be the ones, mowing lawns. They should be the one picking the fruits and veggies. Like these youth programs that would provide discipline and work ethic should be a part of our own country's ethos, and you could regard that as a sort of military training. What this country needs is a strong leader in whom the people can put their trust. With the radical exception of Donald Trump, hell no. A student in a school should have the same type of respect for their teacher as a soldier would have for their commanding officer. Nope. Too many commies in public schools. The maintenance of internal order in the nation is more important than ensuring freedom for all. No. The internal order of the nation, i.e. the state, should not be more important than ensuring freedom for all. Period. In fact, I cheer whenever there's a government shutdown. Certain sectors, such as housing market, power generation, and healthcare, are too important for the state to leave to the free market. No. The state can only absorb those things which the state has necessarily absorbed as its domain and dominion, like utilities. That's already far enough, and we don't need any more. The government should increase its surveillance of secret and or closed organizations such as Freemasons, the Bilderberger Group, and or collegiate societies such as Skull and Bones. Well, this is a far more balanced question than I did in the last test. Should the government increase its surveillance of secret or closed organizations? This, of course, implies that they are already surveilling them to begin with. So, I'm going to say disagree. Not because most of these groups might be up to no good, but I don't think you should increase that which you're already doing. The real problem is not doing anything with what you currently possess. Let's just put it that way. Society would be better off if people would rid themselves of all religion. No. Hard disagree. It's people getting rid of religion that got us in this subjective, secular hellhole to begin with. The death penalty is barbaric and should be abolished. No. Let me tell you what's barbaric. What is barbaric is living under the pretense that we have virtues and standards that we're not willing to fucking kill for. That's barbaric. What is good is that the survival of the fittest weeds out those that cannot stand the pace. I understand the sentiment, and I appreciate the sentiment, but it's good that survival of the fittest weeds out those who cannot stand the pace. What is the pace exactly? Is I guess my question is, what pace are we setting that determines the survival of the fittest? Like, what does that exactly entail? What does that look like? I'm not sure. This is extremely vague. Does survival of the fittest mean letting grandma die because of COVID? If so, I'm going to agree with it, just out of principle. But if it means not picking up your grandfather when he falls off the curb, that's a little extreme. Um, you know what? I'm going to slightly agree. I'm going to slightly agree because those who are elderly and disadvantaged, if they've done well in their lives, they have family to love and support them. And so, of course, they would or could, I suppose, keep pace, so to speak. But I do believe that survival of the fittest, as weeding out those who cannot stand the pace, it is not an individualistic venture. It is a good thing if more of our country's citizenry joined paramilitary organizations such as the National Guard and other volunteer defense corps. I believe that would be a net good all around. A person who has nothing to hide has nothing to fear from government surveillance. That is, of course, a crock of shit, because the government surveillance can have a non-patriotic bias. To get ahead in life, it is sometimes necessary to form groups to step on other groups. Of course. Of course. That's not controversial. And if watching the past 20 years hasn't taught you that, you're going to be the one stepped on. There is an international conspiracy at work against the interests of this country, and the government should take steps to counteract. It's true. And should the government take steps to counteract? Of course they should. Society works best when men and women conform to traditional gender roles. Yes. Unironically, men and women who breed and raise families tend to have a healthier society. Now, this is, of course, going to bring up the Islamic question. But in Western societies where we're having declining birth rates and not a good replacement rate, that's if we need to get back on the ball on that. All people are worth the same, no matter their race, gender, nationality, or IQ. Hard agree. As I said before, everyone has their value and place in society. The government should not meddle in economic affairs by dictating a minimum wage, retirement age, and so on. Hard agree. The free market should rule. The way anyone can just post their opinions on social media today is not good for the well-being of a country. I think it's fantastic. I think it's amazing. There should be more of it. There should be less censorship from Twitter, Facebook, and all the I think that social media and letting people know that they're not alone by connecting with each other has really brought the mainstream media down to its knees. And that's a good thing. Crimes of violence should be punishable with violence. I hard agree. I couldn't agree more. Eye for an eye has been a lost virtue. Yes, the world might be blind and toothless, but goddamn it, justice was served. The political challenges facing our country today are so serious that they can no longer be solved using the traditional methods of politics. Well, when the traditional methods of politics today are neoliberalism, that is correct. Neoliberalism should be thrown in the trash can. Our country is so fallen off the rails that only a national reawakening can bring us back. Let's water the tree, bitches. Water that tree. It is a good thing if our country's head of state is rotated every 4 to 8 years to ensure that no one leader gets too complacent in power. I would agree with that. And it also encourages the populace to seek out and find those other people who are virtuous and will support their goals and their agendas. And it will hopefully inspire more Americans to be like that leader. While there are certain bad people within our nation whose names must be put on public lists so we can keep an eye on them and prevent them from doing wicked things they are trying to do. Now, for those of you who think that this is a form of witch hunting, all I'm going to say is pedophiles. I rest my case. The free market is the most efficient way of organizing the economy known to man. That is demonstrably true. Next, I would welcome a strong leader who is capable of sweeping aside those political groups that are holding our country back. Well, yeah. Donald Trump. All the way. There are certain groups of people within our borders that are a threat to our nation because they conspire with people who are like them in other countries. There is no lie. There is no lie. There are certain viewpoints and opinions that are too dangerous to be allowed to be aired in public. Hard disagree. I think that the more these viewpoints, I think that if the enemies of America were honest and open about their beliefs, that airing those beliefs would make them far unpalatable to the normies, so to speak. Differences in economic status between rich and poor largely reflect differences in natural ability. You know what? I'm going to somewhat agree on that. Somewhat. Because there are some exceptions, but generally, yes. And, you know what? I'm going to very hardly agree. Very hardly agree, because what most people don't know is that wealth doesn't stay within families too long. Like, they generally lose it after the second generation. So there is a lot of fluctuation between wealth and who possesses it. Upstanding citizens who form neighborhood watch patrols should have the freedom to punish offenders if they catch right then and there. No, that would, look, not even police have this kind of leeway. We should not be giving that to the average citizen. There should still be a trial and a jury. So, hard disagree. I know, we were on a roll there. I know. But there's more. It's not logical or efficient to have several companies making the same tire, same wrench, same cable, etc. So the state should step in to coordinate their efforts. No. Competition is king for the economy and for the consumer. So, no nationalizing all the things, thank you. Sex criminals deserve more than imprisonment. They ought to be flogged or worse. Pedophiles get the bullet. It's the right kind of people. If the right kind of people were in power, our country would be a force to be reckoned with. Our nation is already a force to be reckoned with, so meh. It is a good thing if our country's head of state puts on displays of power such as assertiveness, forcefulness, dominance, and control. That is a generally good rule of thumb. Walk softly, big stick. Very, very wise notion. Our nation exists for the benefit of its own people, not for the benefit of the world. Hard agree. Our nation has become a laughingstock with the world because we have forgotten who we are. Yeah, that is generally true. And we were more respected with Trump than we were with any other president because of this phenomena, because of this truth. Underdogs deserve special sympathy and help from those who are more successful. No, underdogs are underdogs, and if they get help, they're no longer underdogs. They're leeches. The government should take steps to curtail those academics and artists who are diminishing the history and heritage of our people. You don't have to curtail them, you just need to defund them. You don't need to hinder these. Defunding at this point would be a form of curtailing, so slightly agree. Not saying outright censorship, but if they want to disparage the state, they should do it on their own dime, is all I'm saying. There are certain people within our nation whose viewpoints are so odious that ordinary citizens are justified using force against them. No, that You don't stop Antifa by becoming Antifa. And the Proud Boys are not even this terrible by any metric. We don't attack Antifa because their viewpoints are odious. Antifa gets their asses kicked because they're trying to attack people because they view them as odious. So, no. Our country needs to be strong and needs a strong and decisive government that can restore it to its former glory. Strong and decisive government that can restore it to its former glory. You know, the American government is best when it does absolutely nothing. For the most part. I'm going to just regular disagree. The government should work to ensure the complete and total loyalty of its citizens to the state. No. Absolutely not. So, that was the 50 questions. Let's see what we got, kids. Let's see what we got. Holy crap. I went from 36 to 51. Your fascist elements are moderate. I think I maxed out on tough-mindedness, traditional values, denunciation of enemies, rebirth myth, natural hierarchy. Huh. Well, damn. Look at that, guys. Look at that. We went from 36 to 51% in a night. That is impressive. All right. So here you have it. 2 tests from pretty much the same website, the same place. Explanation of elements, corporatism, strongman leader, militarism, dissident suppression. Hang on. Oh, I was very low on dissident suppression. Let's look up denunciation of enemies. The belief that certain groups are the collective enemies of the people and that these people are responsible for many of the nation's troubles. It's true. It's not a myth. Like, anyone living today looking at Antifa and the thousands upon thousands to millions and billions of dollars that they have caused in property damage and the loss of life, holy shit. Yes, I am for the denunciation of the enemies of my country. Yes, unapologetically.